morning, good afternoon, good evening. The other day, I played this video clip of this gentleman explaining that there are three types of human beings in the world. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. There are three types of humans in the world. And we need to understand what each type represents and specifically how Zimbabwe is a failed state because Zimbabweans have failed to attain the level of the citizen mentality that values truth and logic and the commitment to the general good, to the good of all. We are still locked up in the second type at best, which is the tribesman mentality, where we look at leaders and we worship them. I'll just play the video clip again so that we get an explanation of the three types of human beings.
That there are always three kinds of people in any given society. This threefold distinction has been noted and made by notable sociologists and public intellectuals. But this threefold distinction of the three kinds of people, it was first identified and first stated by the supporters and founders of democracy in ancient Greece. For the Greek people, the people who in many ways gave us the modern civilized world, for the Greek people, the first kind of people in any given society are the idiots. For the Greeks, the idiot is not necessarily someone who is mentally deficient. Rather, for ancient Greek people, the idiot, they said, is someone who is a totally private person, a totally self-centered person, and a totally selfish person. They called him the idiot. The idiot, he is always out for his personal gain and his personal interests. He does not have a public philosophy. He has no knowledge, no skill, no character, and no virtues to be able to live and to be able to contribute in a flourishing society and community. He's all out for his personal pleasures and for his personal treasures. And the Greeks said that the idiot was just an upgraded barbarian. The first kind of person, the idiot. But the Greeks also said that there is a second kind of people in any given society. And the Greeks called these people the tribes people. When we say tribes people, we don't necessarily mean the fact of belonging to a certain tribe, which is a good thing. But when they use the word tribes people, the Greeks meant a tribal and a tribalistic mentality. And the Greeks said that tribes people are those people who are not able to think beyond their small tribe or their small groups. For tribes people, their primary allegiance, their only allegiance, and their ultimate allegiance is to their tribe. Their tribe is their God, and their religion is tribalism. And tribes people, the Greeks said, are always afraid of things that are different, that are a little alien to them. They are always suspicious and fearful. And they always dealt with different people and difficult situations with intimidation, with force, and with violence. And the Greeks also said that the ideal person for tribes people is the warrior, because tribes people are a war-making people. Their ideal is the warrior. But it was not so for the Greeks. For the Greeks, there was another kind of people, another kind of a person, and that was the ideal person. And the Greeks called this ideal person the citizen. The citizen. And here when we use the word citizen, we are not talking about legal status or political status. We are talking about the idea and the ideal of citizenship. And who is the citizen? The citizen, according to the Greeks, is someone who has the skills and the knowledge to live a public life, who is able to live a life of civility. The citizen recognizes that he or she is a member of a commonwealth and thus strives for the common good. That is the citizen. The citizen, yes, he or she knows his or her rights in a society, but he or she also knows his or her responsibilities to society. The citizen can fight for his rights, but always with an awareness of and with a respect for the rights and interests of others.
I'll stop it there. I think when you look at Zimbabwe, why are we a failed state? 45 years after independence, we are still failing to hold free, fair, and credible elections. If you want, look at it closely. At the end of the day, you'll come up with a conclusion that is because at best, we have the citizen, this tribesman mentality, where the truth does not matter. Our allegiance is to the tribe. And in some cases, we have promoted the leader to the position of a demigod. And we began to have this personality cult mentality, where the leader cannot do nothing wrong. The problem with this mentality is that it has carried on. Soon after independence, the people believed so much in Robert Mugabe. One of the things that could happen to you was for you to be heard criticizing Robert Mugabe soon after independence. He was a god. And this is why even during the Kukura-Wundi massacre, some people still refuse to accept that Mugabe was a murderous dictator. It took another 20 years before they finally accepted that Mugabe was a murderous dictator. And then the people made a conscious decision that we needed to elect leaders who will implement the democratic reforms and stop Zanu PF rigging the elections. Because ever since the country's independence, Zanu PF has been rigging the elections, which is at the heart of our problem. Zanu PF has refused to accept the holding of free, fair, and credible elections. MDC was formed in 1999 on the promise they will implement the democratic
Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu
the democratic reforms necessary to stop Zanu PF rigging elections. That has been at the heart of the argument. Yet, 25 years down the line, if the truth be said, they have not implemented even one token reform. Not even one. And ever since the GNU, they've been participating in flawed elections to give Zanu PF legitimacy. This has been a serious problem. Look at 2023. Chamisa told the people that he had plugged all the vote rigging loopholes. CCC was going to win big. Here he is telling people just a few days before the voting was to start that he was preparing to form his cabinet.
kana denga raronga plan denga harifoiri plan ya mwara haifoiri ini ndatanga kugadzira cabinet. There is no way we are not going to form a new cabinet. There is no way we are not going to have a celebration. There is no way we are not going to have an inauguration. Let's start preparing for our inauguration. Let's start preparing for our celebration.
The truth of the matter is, he was lying. He is the one who has to acknowledge that Zanu PF rigged the elections. The day after the election, he was acknowledging that Zanu PF had rigged the elections. But here comes that tribesman mentality, that personality cult mentality. It's now been 2 years since the 2023 elections. We still have millions of Zimbabweans out there who still refuse to accept that Chamisa lied. Chamisa is their God. They cannot accept that Chamisa lied. The truth of the matter is, Chamisa did lie. And it was an idiotic lie. Because whether we want to care to admit it or not, he conned people to participate in the flawed electoral process, which he knew was flawed, which he knew that by participating, he only gave legitimacy to the process. This Chamisa and company have known since the GNU. David Coulthard in his book, and I've referred to this book several times, but I think it is worth referring to, admitted it, that the electoral process in 2013 was so flawed, so illegal, the only logical thing to do was to withdraw. But he and his colleagues failed to withdraw out of greed. Chamisa conned people to participate in 2023 elections out of greed. And this was not the first time. He did the same thing in 2018. If we are serious as a nation about ending the Zanu PF dictatorship, we really have got to up our game. We have to move from this tribesman mentality to thinking like citizens. When you are a citizen, you look at the issues at stake and make your decision on the basis of that. How is it that some people are failing to accept that Chamisa lied? Even when we have got a mountain of evidence that he did lie. Worse still, Zimbabwe, we have had 45 years since independence. And in those 45 years, we have failed to hold free, fair, and credible elections. How is it possible that someone would agree to participating in flawed elections because an upstart like Chamisa told them that he had plugged the vote-rigging loopholes and the opposition would win? Why would we give up our fundamental right to free, fair, and credible elections in the hope of winning flawed elections? It beggars belief. But the root cause for it is that we, the majority of Zimbabweans, the overwhelming majority of Zimbabweans out there, we do not understand our fundamental, basic duty, if we want a healthy and functioning democracy, is to hold the leaders to account. And for us to do that, we need to think like citizens and stop this tribesman mentality. At West, stop this personality cult mentality. I repeat, Chamisa is not a god. He is not a demigod. He's just a mere mortal. Corrupt,
Zimbabwe nokuti hakuna munhu
incompetent, and that is the reason why we are where we are. Think about it. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.